Hello and welcome to Bored and Confused, where I review shows based on two criteria. One, was I bored? Two, was I confused? Today's show is Can I Be Frank? Returning to the Soho Playhouse after a successful run last summer. Now, before I get into this, if you're enjoying this kind of content, please like this video, leave a comment below, and subscribe so you'll never miss a review. It really does help the channel, and I appreciate every single one of you. Okay, let's get into it. Can I Be Frank? Or as I thought it was, Call Me Frank. I don't know why I thought that was what it was. That makes no sense. So, I'll be honest, I didn't know much about this going in. I knew it was a one-person show, and I knew it had played at Soho Playhouse last year. I tried to see it during that run, but just couldn't make it work. But it got really great buzz. People were talking about it. So when it came back for another month at Soho Playhouse, I reached out right away and I scored a press ticket so that I could get this review up at the very start of the run and let you know what's happening. And I'm glad I did. So here's the origin story of this show, and it's kind of beautiful. Morgan Bassichis was at an artist residency in Sag Harbor, and if you're not familiar with that term, Morgan helpfully explains in the show that an art residency is when you go somewhere else to have sex with people. During the open visiting hours, a man stopped by his studio and they got to talking. Morgan described himself as part comedian, part singer, part performance artist. And the man said, "Oh, my brother did the same thing. His name was Frank Maya." Morgan had no idea who Frank Maya was. I don't either. But he went home and Googled him, and by his own account, became completely obsessed. And that obsession became this show. Can I Be Frank was originally developed at La Mama Experimental Theater in June 2024, one of New York's most storied downtown venues. And it's actually the same venue where Frank Maya himself had performed back in 1987. From there, it moved to Soho Playhouse for a run from August through September in 2025. Critics loved it. It was named one of the best shows of 2025 by the New York Times, New York Magazine, and GQ. It won 2 Obie Awards for playwriting and for directing. The director, by the way, is Sam Pinkleton, who also won the Tony Award for directing Oh Mary. So, if you've been following Escola's career, you'll recognize that name. After all that acclaim, the show is back for a new run at Soho Playhouse through June 27th, 2026. And so now you have the opportunity, you should go. All right, so what is Can I Be Frank actually about? It's pretty simple. It's Morgan Bassichis' fan letter to Frank Maya. Who was Frank Maya? Good question, I'm glad you asked. Frank Maya was born in Queens in 1950. He grew up on Long Island and started his career as a singer, songwriter, and poet performing in clubs around Manhattan. By the mid-1980s, he had reinvented himself as a performance artist, doing these passionate musical rants. And then by the early 1990s, he had reinvented himself once again as one of the first openly gay stand-up comedians in America. He was the first out gay comedian to appear on MTV. He had his own half-hour special on Comedy Central, and he performed on all 3 major television networks. He was on the cusp of mainstream success when he died on August 7th, 1995 at age 45 of heart failure due to complications from AIDS. He died just before the cocktail medications came out that saved so many lives. So his name, sadly, has mostly been lost to history. Until now. Morgan Bassichis is himself a comedian, musician, and performer, and he's gay, and he does a lot of the same things Frank Maya did. So when he discovered Frank, there was an immediate personal connection. This show is really taking us inside Morgan's obsession, and it is a really fun ride. Now, in terms of structure, the first third of the show, roughly, is Morgan trying to start his Frank Maya monologue. And he constantly interrupts himself to give us more and more backstory. And it's genuinely hilarious. I would say about 1/5 of the show is actually Frank Maya's material, monologues and songs from Frank's 1987 show, Frank Maya Talks, including a scathing rant about Liberace that opens the show. And there are some speak singing songs as well. And the rest of the show is all Morgan. Now, Morgan has a very particular comedic style. He leads you to think he's going to say one thing, then takes a hard left and goes somewhere completely different. You got a little taste of that at the beginning when I gave you his definition of what an artist residency is. He's constantly flipping the microphone cord over one shoulder, then the other. He talks to the audience as if they're shouting things out to him. He says something wild and then accuses the audience later of mishearing him entirely. It's really, really funny, and I was instantly drawn in. So let's talk about some positives and negatives. There are a lot of positives on this one. Morgan Bassichis is a genuine original. I have not seen anyone perform quite like him, and the first half of his 70-minute show had me grinning from ear to ear. The setup explaining who Frank Maya was, how Morgan found him, and why he became obsessed is brilliantly entertaining and had me laughing a lot. The mission of the show, introducing a new generation to an artist who was robbed of his moment by the AIDS epidemic, is both worthwhile and genuinely moving. And at 70 minutes with no intermission, the show never overstays its welcome. Critics have largely agreed. Across its 2025 run, the show earned rave reviews. It was called Frank Fervent and Ferociously Funny by New York Stage Review, and, quote, a delightful an insightful jaunt through gay comedy history, end quote, by New York Theater Guide. Audiences on ShowScore gave it 95% approval rating. So everyone, critics and audiences alike, are loving this show. This show really does accomplish something special. You walk out wanting to know more about Frank Maya, which is exactly what Morgan intended. My one caveat, and I do have one as always, is that the show starts so strong and then loses some of its manic energy in the second half, particularly as it gets more into Frank Maya's actual material. The songs especially are kind of rambling spoken word pieces set to a loop track, speak singing, not an interesting melody, and while I respect them, they're not as immediately compelling as Morgan being Morgan. When Morgan steps into Frank's material, everything feels a little bit tamer, a little bit safer, and honestly, a little dated because, well, it is. Frank's jokes are funny, but you're not getting them from the horse's mouth. You're getting it through Morgan, and Morgan is so vibrant and so present in his own material that the contrast is noticeable, which also helps you so that you always know when it's Frank and you know when it's Morgan. And the emotional landing of the show, the moral, which is essentially a lot of brilliant people died in the AIDS epidemic and we should remember their names, is genuinely poignant, but you can feel it coming from a mile away. So while it does land, it doesn't quite carry the punch it might have had if you hadn't seen it coming. One critic noted a bit of tonal whiplash in the second half, and I think I know exactly what they mean. You go from this manic, anarchic comedy energy into something more earnest, and the gears shift, and it isn't totally seamless. And it also takes the energy down a little bit. So, was I bored? Was I confused? Let's start with bored. Absolutely not. 70 minutes goes by in a flash. Even when the energy dips a little in the second half, I was never bored. Morgan Bassichis commands the room. That's undeniable. Was I confused? Not really. There was one moment where the lighting shifted and Morgan launched into a Frank Maya monologue, and it took me a minute to register that we were now in Frank's material and not Morgan's. The lighting change cued it, I just wasn't paying attention to the lighting. But that's more on me. But overall, I was engaged throughout the entire show. Really loved it. So let me wrap this up. Here's the bottom line. Can I Be Frank is a rare show that entertains you and teaches you something and moves you as well, all in 70 minutes. And you will walk out knowing who Frank Maya is, you'll walk out knowing who Morgan Bassichis is, and you will go home and Google Frank Maya and watch his videos on YouTube, which is exactly what Morgan has set out to do. The show is funny, it's personal, it's political, and it's generous. What I really want, honestly, is to see Morgan Bassichis do a show that is entirely his own, where he takes a deep dive into a subject and it's wall-to-wall his material. His voice and his style are so good. So that's what I want. But even in this hybrid tribute show, Can I Be Frank, it's something you should see, especially if you're not familiar with Morgan Bassichis, which I was not, and I'm so glad to have seen this performer. So why should you see this show? If you love one-person shows, this is a must-see. If you love queer and LGBT theater, you need to see this. If you love really unique, smart stand-up comedy, not your standard club comedy, but something more theatrical, something more elevated and layered, Morgan Bassichis is doing something really special here. He is talented enough that I want him to be as well known as Escola and Frank Maya. And interestingly, both of their recent works have been directed by Sam Pinkleton. So that comparison isn't a stretch. In fact, Morgan mentions Cole several times during the show. So go check this show out. You have 4 weeks to see Can I Be Frank? Let's see if we can get it to extend again like it did last summer. So get your tickets. I was fortunate enough to get a press ticket for this run. So grateful for that because I really wanted to see the show at the beginning and get this review right out so that you guys have as much time to see this. Soho Playhouse is a black box style theater on Vandam Street in the West Village, and my seat was pretty far back and pretty far to the side. Doesn't sound ideal, but here's the thing. Black boxes can surprise you. I was seated right between two heads, so I had a perfect sightline straight to the stage, and it's a one-person show, so there's only one place to look. So even from where I was sitting, which you wouldn't think was the best seat, it actually was great. And the intimacy of the space really works for this show. So you're on a budget? No problem. Let me tell you something. Here's how you can get to see the show without paying full price. There are 3 options. First one, free. You can see it for free. There's a pay it forward ticket program, and you can request 1 free ticket through a Google form. I'll include the link below. And there's only 1 free ticket per request. Student rush tickets are available for $25, and you get 2 tickets. So go find yourself a student who has a valid student ID and get them to buy themselves a ticket and take you along as well. And for $37, if you want to just show up and take your chances, there's an in-person standby line 1 hour before curtain for $37 per ticket. This show is worth $50 easily, so just go buy a full price ticket. Links for all these are in the description below, and the show runs through June 27th, 2026 at Soho Playhouse, 15 Vandam Street in Manhattan. Thank you for watching Bored and Confused, and I will see you at the next one. Bye-bye.
Don't wanna drift away.